hypothesis. My name is Olurotimi Enitan. I'm one of the lecturers of foundational class, and in this class we are teaching about business studies. Business studies is the course for the foundational class, and I've been taking them on the management 003, course 003 management. We are trying to look at human resources management this time around, and we've known that human at the core are the main resource that every organization always relies upon. Having put together capital and other resources, without the human element of our resources, most of these things will be away. So most of these things we have put together might not be able to be coordinated very, very well. And we are looking at what human resources management, we are trying to look at some of the theories that have been propounded in the past regarding human resources management. And like I said, theories are hypotheses that has been tested over time, and we have come to the conclusion that that hypothesis works at any particular period. The hypothesis works. The hypothesis have been tried, and like I said, hypotheses are academic guesses. When you are trying to do anything, you set some hypothesis. This which you are going to test, having tested that hypothesis over time, and they always come like that. We say they are theory, like the theory of demand and supply. That the theory of demand, it has been tested over time that the more price goes down, the higher will be the demand, or at every point in time, apart from some exceptions to those theories. There are some exceptions to it, but we have seen over time that whenever you see the price of things going up, the demand will come down. Whenever you see the price of things going up, the supply will go up. Whenever you see the price of things coming down, the demand will go up and the supply will come down. It has been tested over time, and that's why they become what we call theory. It has come to stay. So now we are going to look at some of the theories that we are able to come by in human resources. And those are the things we want to look about in this course. The underpinning theories of human resources management. Some underpinning theory of human resources management. Like I always tell you that human resources rely majorly on theories. Theories are hypotheses that have been propounded in the past, and they are still working. So the theories of commitment, the theories of motivation, and all the ideas, most of them are able to come up from the main idea of organization behavior. But here we are going to summarize those theories, and one of them is what we call the commitment theory. The commitment theory. This is a theory that was able to show the strength of before I was able to go to when you see an employee that is totally committed to an organization, is totally committed to an organization, you'll be able to see that he will put all his strength, all his power to that organization. There's a theory behind that, and this is a theory that Mode and Co. In most of the writings, if you see Mode et al., it means he's not the only person who was able to come up with that theory. It's since 1982, and that theory was able to say that commitment is when you have an attachment and you are so loyal to an organization. They say, this man is so committed. You are attached to that organization. You are so loyal to that organization. And that is the theory. Most of the time, employees are not committed. They are not attached. They are not loyal. Most of them will say, I just come around, take my pay and go. Those kind of things, they are not putting their best. Most employees that are committed to the organization put in their best at every point in time. They put in their best because they are so committed to that organization. They are so loyal. They don't want to do anything that is going to affect that organization. But we see these days that Many employee or staff organizations, they are not committed. You'll be able to sit up. Some of them will be working 2 organizations together. You might not be able to know. And there is no way. Even the Bible makes it clear. Jesus Christ was able to say that can a man serve 2 masters? He will either love one and hate the other. And that is exactly what we are talking about. If you are not committed, you are working in 2 places. There is no way that there will be what we call disloyalty or conflict. There will be conflict there. So, number 1 theory that we want to look under human resources that are those, when we say theories that are underpinning that have ruled human resources management over the years. One of them is what we are talking, when we are looking at that. And there are 3 characteristics of this commitment. You see some things, you'll be able to say, this man is committed. There are some characteristics you'll be able to see that, this man is committed. Number 1 is, you will see that this person will have a strong desire to remain in that organization. There will be that strong desire. Even though there are a lot of people who have been saying, come and join the organization, because he's so loyal. And I want to say some of us in this university, some of our lecturers are so loyal. Many of us have seen things outside, but we just felt, let's just stay here. Because apart from the fact some of us believe you don't just rush at things, it's when you are ordered. So it's a commitment. No matter how, those kind of staff that are committed, no matter what happens, come rain, come shine, they will stay with that organization. It is because they have seen themselves and part of that organization. They are attached to that organization. And that's why you see some staff, like I said, who are so committed. You will see people who are asking them, even double the salary, even triple the salary. They are saying, but you say, I will stay in this organization. You might not be able to see what he's saying, but it's because he's attached. He sees himself as part and part of that organization. So it's like you are detaching him. And he might not be complete. The moment you detach him from that organization, he might not be complete again. That is where they are committed. You see them, they are so loyal. Give them whatever they need to do, they do it. Most of them, they don't complain because they see themselves as a member of that organization. Number 2 characteristics you are going to see is that they believe and accepted the values and goals of that organization. Organization has values. Organization has goals. It is that thing that the organization treasures. They don't play with. Some people call it core values of organization. Or values like integrity, loyalty. They are values that the thing that you see in that organization, that kind of a person believes in those values. You might not be able to see because it cannot be measured, but people believe in it. They value it. In this university, we pray. Some people run away, but some people value it. Some people, they don't play with for me to find an organization that is playing like this, for me to find an organization that is playing like this, some of those value it, especially looking at where we are coming from. And that is what we are saying. That kind of a person, that kind of an employee, that kind of a staff, because it accepts the values of that organization, it accepts the goal of that organization, you'll be able to see that person will be committed. That's what the theory is trying to talk about. And you'll be able to see that that person will be ready to exert considerable effort on behalf of the organization. Wherever you find that kind of a staff, he will not talk curious about that organization. Even though there are shortcomings in that organization, you'll be able to see they get by and by all the time. He's going to speak ill about that organization. And that's what we are looking at when we say about commitment theory. I'll be able to see it was Mordey Etor in 1992 that was able to come with these characteristics because of his studies, that those who are committed, those who are so committed to every organization, you see these characteristics with them. Number 1, they have a strong desire to remain a member of the organization. Number 2, they have a strong belief and have accepted the values and goals of the organization. Number 3, they are ready to put considerable effort, even extra effort, into the organization. And that is the theory that we are talking about. The next theory is what we call organizational behavior theory. As we are telling us, those theories that are underpin human resources management, HRM. This theory that describes that how people within the organization act individually or in groups? How do they act individually or in groups? Does that organization allow people to work together in groups? Do they encourage teamwork? Those are the things in the theory, especially in the form of structure, processes, and the culture. There's some organization does not want you to talk to yourself when you are working. Some organization does not allow it. Whereas some organization has come to appreciate it. And if you're able to see the experiment that Frederick Winston Taylor at the Austin experiment, you'll be able to see that although what they were trying to investigate in that experiment was to see how light affects the productivity of staff, whereas they give light to some control group, they don't give light to the experiment group. But they are able to come out with that those who don't have light in their group, they have come to develop a kind of a social way of doing things. They are so bonded that they don't even need light. That's why they are able to see that social relationship in organization goes a long way. Like I told you, some people, the moment you hear a voice of a person, they know who the person is. They know what he's going to say. That is the bonding we are talking about. So in this theory was able to say that organization, how did they function in terms of their structure, the structure they are able to put down, in terms of their processes, and in form of their culture. If by looking at those three together, the gamut of everything will form what we call how does this organization behave. There are some organizations you don't talk to yourself when you are working. So the organization you cannot eat in the organization. Because some organization they don't put that area that you're able to, but that is the culture of that organization. But researchers have shown that when you allow people to interact, although some people might overdo that, as I see some people in bank, they will talk about everything, and that's why someone said that especially I'm very apology to our ladies. They want to talk about what happened last week, today they want to blah, blah, blah. And that's why some organization will say individually they put them in their cubicle. That is the culture, that is the structure, that is the processes. So that's another theory that you need to consider when you are looking at the theories that are related for human resources management. Another theory is what we call motivational theory. What are those things, what are those factors that affect goal-oriented behavior? And in one way or the other, they have influences, the approaches that human resources use to enhance engagement. One thing we have come to know about motivation is that is the drive, that innate drive that make a person want to do something beyond the level. That is, it usually comes from within. That innate drive, that internal drive that make a person. That so, as a human resources professional, what drives this man? What makes him to want to do more than this? There are some people it's money. There are some people it's position. But people is the aesthetic design of their office. Some people are the way they are able to take care of their family. That is why when we are looking at quality of work-life era, they are able to see the quality of work of an individual is related with the quality of life he is living. And that is why you see some people that some organizations, they will register their staff with golf club, because just as the quality of work matters, you have to talk about the quality of his life too. So in this theory, you want to look what drives this person to do this, what drives him to want to put effort that are necessary. What are the things you have to identify it as a human resources manager? You have to identify it. I don't see most of the time when I'm going to look, I see some ladies. What happened? Talk. You look front today. You have a headache. You have issues with your wife or your husband. Why? I know something happens. That's why it's maybe like that. I'm able to say, I didn't sleep very well. Okay, you didn't sleep very well. Go to my inner room. Go and sleep. Well, I can do that because that is somebody that you know that's not the way it's been doing things. Like I said, some people are driven by money. So that is why you're able to see that when you are employing staff, you can use money to attract those of them who are who are the people that want money. I didn't say that why would people not love money? That's not the reason why they are working. But some people, it's the money. They are deciding for taking up. But some people, it might not be money. Some people, for the fact that they get to that office, you are able to empathize with them. You are able to identify with them. You are able to let them know they are part and parcel of that organization. Some organization will be giving you money, but they see you as a computer. They don't take care of you. But by the time, and that's the kind of organization when you say, my daughter is sick, after that you go to your office. That kind of organization, their culture is not good. You must wow, what do you do now? And that's why this is an organization, because they know that most of our women, whenever they are working and they don't know what is happening to their children, their mind is not there. That's why you see some organization under their offices, they have a crèche there, they have a nursery and primary school there. They even allow the people to go and breastfeed there. That kind of a person, they are motivated because that's the inner drive. So that when it comes, he just drop the child at the crèche. By the time he's going to breastfeed, so if that kind of a person asks him to ask her to work up to 9, he'll be ready to work, because what does it tickle him? You are taking of everything, and there's already official boss to take them home. Those are the things. Those are the things that this motivation. What does motivate our workers? What are the things we want them to give their best? What are the things that internally that drive them? Like me now, what drives me is for the fact that I want to speak with my children. I was able to speak with them. But the more I'm able to speak with my children, I speak with my wife, I'm okay, I'll go that day. That kind of thing like that, don't deny me access to speak with my children. So they know that is my internal drive. Some of us in the office, there are some ladies, early in the morning, you like my secretary, or the secretary of the thing. When I see them, I say, abro me. But you know, it will be that we take but what happened? Abro, you feel like you are frowning. Say, what is the problem? Take this 500. It has, I've seen, that's a motivator. So as a human resources professional, or as a human resource manager, you must be able to identify that with your staff. And that's one of the theory that makes human resources to tickle. You must be able to look like a theory. You must be, it's on my hypothesis that has been tested in the past and it's still working. And that's why I see some organizations, they don't, money-wise, environment-wise. Coca-Cola, when you go to Coca-Cola, now, if you want to drink 3 drugs of Coca-Cola, if you go there, they will be giving you your staff. And even but the moment you enter Coca-Cola, the first they ask you, do you want Pepsi, do you want Sprite, do you want Coca, do you want Fanta? Because they are come to conscious the moment you are able to take care of my friends, I will be eager, I don't need to start, what am I going to give my friends? But by the time you are going, they might even pack some of the things, so those are the motivation. So, Obiora, what are the things for you to do an extra thing? What is the thing that motivates you for you to do an extra thing?
The thing that motivates for me to do an extra thing, is it in the business wise?
No, as you are now, we want to give an extra in anything you are doing. We are looking at the work now, and an extra. What are the things that will drive you?
It's the passion and love I have for the thing. Let me for example now, I'm like, as a lecturer is now, like I'm a student now as I am now, and I'm still thinking of what to become. So if there should be a particular lecturer in a particular subject that I know that yes, this lecturer is very good, it can be the one that will be driving me to say, when I grow up I'll try and be like a lecturer, or I'll try and be like him, so I'll be able to tutor people the way he's talking to me now.
So a good lecturer motivates you to do better. Yes. Then what are the things? What is that thing that drives you to want to agree? And is an innate. You might not be able to see it. It's from within. That's why we call it an innate. What are the things that drives you? So me see me getting ready.
Inspirational talks motivates me.
Inspirational talks. Okay.
And music.
Music. That's all. That's all. So when you're working, like listening to music. So maybe I will allow this in the class. So I'll be playing music, and by that way, others are not going to be disturbed. That's one thing too. Throughout my education, they say I'm still learning. I play music to the point that about the music I listened to then was Don Williams songs. My wife knows that with me. That if I'm reading from 7 p.m. to you, people will still be listening to music. You know what that music has done for me? If I was in the examination and I forgot something, I will be singing that song. It should be low, oh, it should. By the time I get that, I'll remember. Because at that point, that's when thing went into me. That point, when I was playing that, that's when I was able to grab that thing. I quickly remember. In fact, but last, when Don Williams died, my wife called me and said, Don Williams has died now. What is going to happen to you? I said, his music never dies. That's the way I mentioned to my, because my wife knows that, Don Williams, I will play it. Then, my daughter knows that